Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 238th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with my special co-host, Susie G. Thank you for coming on again, Susie. I'm so glad to have you back. Anybody out there who doesn't know, Susie's the head of the treatment center that I went to. And, it was a magical experience for me, and I'm really honored you're here again.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here again. It's fantastic. Time's gone really fast.
Tomorrow is my 29 months of,
that's fantastic.
Freedom.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Today's topic is abstinence-based recovery. Would you share what this means to you and why you were happy to come discuss this here today?
Absolutely. So abstinence means abstinence. That's no mind or mood altering substances. And I am an abstinence-based person in recovery. And I think that marijuana is a big deal with people. And, marijuana is a hardcore drug. A lot of people get addicted to marijuana. And, for me, it means I do not put anything into my body that is mind or mood altering. It's work. I'll be, God willing, 18 years in April. So, it's work for me. And I just find that, when I live in that, I can maintain my spiritual connection. I can maintain my relationships. Because I was in active addiction for 35 years. And so all I knew was, drugs or alcohol. And I never really was connected because I was always in some form of, not time out of mind, right? And so, when they told me, no, abstinence is abstinence, I really got that. Alcohol was my drug of choice. And, I had a big addiction to a lot of drugs when I was younger, and I had a really serious addiction to prescription drugs in the later years of my active addiction. And, I have to be careful with that. I just make sure my doctors know that I don't need to be taking anything that's going to alter my mind. Like, I'm high on life. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Life is so good without that. And, I think that marijuana, and tell me if I'm going on and on and on, because I could talk about this forever, but I think a lot of people have the mistaken idea that marijuana is not a drug. And, we hear this marijuana maintenance program.
Or California clean is what.
I'm from California, so that really pisses me off.
There you go.
California sober. What is that? We smoke pot. But that's mind and mood altering. And if people are say they're in recovery and they're smoking marijuana, they're not clean. They're not sober. And so actually, if you're going to a meeting, a 12-step meeting, you're not telling the truth, right? You're lying. And honesty is very important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to this recovery podcast, and there was a doctor on there, and the difference in strength of marijuana now,
yes,
from what it was in the early 80s, which I'm glad they said 80s, because that was my
or the
time.
70s. That's where I'm from.
Well, yeah, and so it was even weaker but so from my time, it is the same difference as eating a coca leaf or having the most pure cocaine you can get.
Right.
Like, that is the strength difference now. So like, it's not it's not a light drug anymore.
No,
You know, it's not a casual thing. Like
no,
I've seen high school students, you know, of my daughter's generation, and they smoke up, and they're screwed for life. Like
yeah,
it can completely bring out schizophrenia and
yep,
bipolar.
yep.
Like to people who have genetic predispositions to those mental illnesses, you can be irrevocably triggered for the rest of your life.
Well, absolutely. And the Mayo Clinic put out the first study in 2008 about the effects of marijuana on the teenage brain. And I got pretty interested in that because it can trigger schizophrenia, it can trigger permanent psychosis. And I've had people that were my clients that were young men that were permanently disabled because of marijuana, permanently.
Mhm.
And that's so sad. This is like 20 years old, 21 years old, and they'll never be the same. So I
Yeah.
don't know how we spun off into this marijuana thing, but to me, it's a drug is a drug is a drug. It doesn't matter what
Mhm.
it is. The brain doesn't say, "Oh, Susie, you are an alcoholic, so it's okay to smoke marijuana." All my brain knows if I put it in there is that boom, boom, the party's on, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want that because I'm connected. Like I'm
Yeah.
connected to reality.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and the only way to connect to your higher power
Mm-hmm.
is to not be filtered through substance.
Yep.
You know, there's no kinda connected. Like there's no
No,
there's no kinda honest, you
that's
know?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally believe that is true. Because we can't be connected to a higher power if we're not, if we're under the influence. Like we need
Mhm.
those open channels so we can accept that, right?
Yeah.
So, the spirituality aspect in my life is very, very important, like the most important thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's what's keeping you straight, right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah, because what is, my higher power wants me to be the best I can be. And, and I want to be the best I can be. So I get to walk in those things that I know my higher power brings to me, like love and understanding and tolerance and hope and all those different things. But I mean, first of all, I'm almost 18 years sober without relapsing. And, we hear a lot about relapse, a lot, but, a lot of people don't relapse. You're one of them, right?
yeah,
Um,
and I'm so grateful.
yeah,
Mhm.
I went to treatment one time, and
Mhm.
that was that. I walked out of there knowing that I couldn't drink alcohol. I don't know how.
Mhm.
Um, you know, like I knew that I couldn't drink because that was my drug of choice. It was a little harder with the prescription drugs,
Yeah.
right? Because if a doctor prescribes it, it must be okay. But I
Yeah.
knew, I had to stay away from that. But that I knew that I could not drink again. And it was just a matter of, okay, how do I live now? Because, from 15 to 49 years old, that's all I knew was getting through everything by being loaded on something. And so I
Yeah, it
had to
was
learn how to
coping.
live sober, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, I think most of us don't realize, like, we think we're taking alcohol or drugs because of the positive effect, right? Like, we're also kind of taking it we're running from things. You know,
Absolutely.
it's like our shut off to actually having to cope with so many things in our lives.
Yep.
And for myself, I until I got to options and until I started to do the step work, and
Hmm.
I'll admit I was like so delusional at that point. I remember at one point you were like, you might be a little bit self-centered. And I took such offense to that. I was like, screw her, man. She doesn't know me. I'm so
Yeah.
generous. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, I look back now and I think you must have just been laughing in your boots at that. Like,
Well, but I mean, addiction's a self-centered disease, right? It's all about me, 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 poor me, poor me.
but when you're so self-centered that you believe it, it doesn't
Hmm.
seem that way. you know?
No. And so, breaking through that denial,
Mhm.
and really taking a good
Yeah.
hard look at ourselves, that's tough. And we don't want to be told that. We don't
Mhm.
want to be told we're in denial or we're self-centered or, or controlling or any of those things. I don't want to hear that. But it's the truth. And it's when we start looking at ourselves, really taking a good hard look and accepting what other people see in us because we don't see it.
Well, and with abstinence-based recovery, right? Like so we've got three words: abstinence-based and recovery. And
Hmm.
and like, I would call like white knuckling just abstinence-based,
Right.
but there's no recovery.
No.
And I had, um I was good at actually just stopping.
Yeah.
Like I could stop for 6 months. I could stop
Right.
for 8 months. I stopped one time for 20 months.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that I was the most miserable asshole that any family had to live with ever.
Uh-huh.
Because because I didn't address anything to recover. Like
Exactly.
there was no recovery. And so if for everybody who's out there, can you describe what you see the process of abstinence-based recovery to be?
Well, I mean, the first step is putting down the drink and or
Yeah.
the right. We
Okay.
put that
So
down.
somebody's like, I'm gonna start this. Walk them through just the basic
Okay.
pathway of it.
So the first thing we have to do is we got to put the stuff down. We have to have, you know, and I really think that, like you said, people can stop for, a certain amount of time, but then you start up again and you start up exactly where you were before you stopped, right? And so, the first thing is to clear the body and the mind of substances. And then it's like, okay, we're going to have to take a good hard look at what has fueled the addiction, right? And I think everybody that has addiction issues has the same thing. So, and I draw this iceberg. And 15% of what you can see of an iceberg is above the waterline. 15% of what you can see or the problem for somebody who's addicted to drugs and or alcohol is drugs and or alcohol. 85% is all that stuff underneath. It's like denial, control, isolation, anger, guilt, shame, trauma, self-pity, ego, all of those things. And that's what we do in recovery is because those are the things that fuel addiction. And so, and it's freaking hard at first, as you know, to look at those things. But I mean, that's what we do in treatment, basically. We
Mhm.
dig in there and we start looking at those things and we start recognizing them. You can't fix something if you don't know it's there. So, the first step
Mhm.
is in getting out of the denial and recognizing that, yes, I do have these behaviors, right? And I am isolating and I'm full of anger and I'm full of self-pity and I love to control everybody else. And that's what we start to look at. And we start to dig in, and in treatment, we do that because I work in a 12-step based treatment center and cognitive behavioral therapy. We start digging into those things through step work, through counseling, through group therapy. And it's a matter of getting honest, right, with ourselves. And and it's a process, and it takes a long time. It doesn't all change in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days in treatment.
Mhm.
I can honestly tell you that I didn't really, really, really feel that the change in me, in myself, in my core, in my heart, till I was 10 years sober. And I went,
Yeah.
wow, I've really changed as a person.
My
And but
second year felt more changeful than my
yes,
first year.
it
And
was,
I would have bet $1 million against that. That could
uh-huh,
even be possible.
mhm,
Like, and it's continuing to do so. Like, I think as long as you're working at it,
that's right.
you know.
That's the
Mhm.
key. It's not just putting down the substances, and then going to meetings or whatever. We have to do that hard work on
Mhm.
ourselves.
Mhm.
And, it takes dedication, it takes commitment, it takes honesty, mainly, like being honest
Mhm.
with ourselves. And I don't know about you, and I do know about you, you weren't honest with yourself either, you know.
No. And that's like you what you were talking about of about the honesty, but that honesty, or at least that process of becoming honest,
Mm,
brings an awareness. And
mm-hmm.
without awareness, I'm never going to change. Like, if you
That's
don't tell me I got egg on my upper lip, I'm
yeah.
going to walk around all day and I'll be egg
Yeah.
lip Starsick.
Yeah.
And it's like that with all the problems that we have too, is that if I have no awareness of it, why would I have a propensity to change it? Like, it's
That's
almost,
right.
it would just be by blind luck that I would
Yes.
change. Yeah.
Well, and that's why we have a support system in recovery. We can't do it alone. Like
Yeah.
I need to be able to tell you that you got egg on your face,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, you did. You did.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you're walking around with egg on your face. You're walking around with ego, right?
Yeah.
And and it's hard to hear those things when we first sober up. It's really
Mm.
hard to hear those things because we're all in denial. I didn't think I was hurting anybody but myself, and I did a lot of damage to my children. I went through men like crazy and hurt a lot of people, right? And it was all very self-seeking because I was looking for something. I was, and I have this women's group in my home every Saturday morning, and somebody said something and it twigged me, and it was like I was always walking around wondering or trying to matter in the world. Like I need to matter somewhere, and I don't feel like I matter. And that was kind of a revelation just this morning for me. It's like that's why, because I always felt less than. I never felt
Mm.
like I fit in. And I think that's a general thing that people who have addiction issues feel.
I think absolutely. And one of the things, like, it's so painful to actually take this look at ourselves, right? Like,
Hmm.
we kill ourselves before we will.
Yeah.
Like, like
Oh,
that's how ridiculous it is.
yeah.
And but I read this. I'm reading this thing right here. One of the things I'm doing now, it's how to listen to God,
Nice.
overcoming addiction through two-way prayer. And it was, that was started by the Oxford group, which,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
said the reason that the inventories start with resentments
Hmm.
is because the ego wouldn't let us start them unless we were looking at other people first.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's like the trick. It's like the bait and switch. Oh, let's pick on somebody else, and then now it's you.
Well, we're good at picking on other people, aren't we? When
Yeah, but when I read that, I was like, I remember, I remember this when I was about to do my step 4, and it was said, "Oh, write out your resentments."
right.
I pictured this lineup going to the door of people who were going to come and apologize to me because once I wrote them out, you'd never get past me. Like, like
Right.
there were going to be ironclad resentments that people owed me apologies
Right.
for. And then I
Right.
remember, like, oh, it's me. Oh, it's me again.
Oh, it's
And
me.
it's,
It's me. It's me. It's
yeah.
me. Yeah, it's crazy.
I, it wasn't fun, but it was a magical process to do.
Well, it is. I call it
Yeah.
the journey of self-discovery. And
Yes.
the beauty of it is if we stay in recovery and if people clean up sober up in other ways other than 12-step programs. However, that's the only thing really proven like statistically and that works because it's
Mm,
12-step programs have been around since 1939. There's never been, it's evidence-based, right? Millions and millions of people.
mm.
But I kind of lost my train of thought. So if when we sober up, if we stay working on ourselves and we're willing to do that, then the shift starts to happen. And we don't
Mm.
need those crutches, right? We don't, it's the coolest process ever. But you have to be
Well,
willing
it's like
to put
there's enough pain, and then it comes with a little dose of pleasure, and then
yeah,
some more pain, and then pleasure. Like, it's so geniusly laid out, like,
yeah,
that it's just like oh, you're not going to feel good, but then you feel really good. Oh,
Yeah.
you're not, but that you can taste, you get a taste of what freedom's going to be like.
And it is freedom.
Yeah.
Like I get, and I have the power of choice today. I get to
Mm,
choose what I do. Whereas,
yeah.
most of my life I was chained to substances and I
Mm,
had no choice. I had to, and I got to a place, and a lot of people do that. I didn't want to use, but I had to. Didn't
mm,
want to drink, but I had to because I felt so, physically ill and then, the completely spiritually bankrupt. That was not anything that
absolutely.
was ever in my wheelhouse. I
Yeah.
wasn't raised in a religious home or with any kind of spirituality. And that was something I struggled with. But um, you know, like I to this day, always say I don't understand relapse. I get that it's a part of addiction,
Mm,
and I think that, I watch movies or read books sometimes, and they'll say, well, relapse is a part of recovery. Well, it's not part of addiction.
yeah.
And, if we stay clean and sober, then, it means not picking up anything, first of all, staying abstinent and continuing to do the work on ourselves and getting that spiritual connection that is so lacking.
I have almost entirely seen, just just from my short observer period, and you've seen thousands more people than me, but it's almost always reservation based. There's always a reservation
Yeah.
hiding in the closet when someone's relapsing. Like,
Yeah.
like I remember it was I was talking with my second sponsor at one point, and I just came to the conclusion it's like just the desire to still ever use is a
Mhm.
reservation
Yeah.
because you still think that you have some power over it that you will get to use again.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there's a lot of people who maybe like me and you who had high pain tolerances. They're not done yet. You know,
Yeah.
just because their family's done, just because their work's done, just because
Right.
their health is done,
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're done.
Well, I know one thing that my coworker Shirley always and I talk about is we can't we the one thing we can't teach in treatment or anywhere else is how powerful addiction is.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that, like the two spiritual principles you could give someone else is hope and love. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't give away willingness.
Nope, you can't make somebody be willing.
Yeah.
And I was saying earlier, I don't understand why people relapse. I don't understand why people want to go back to that misery. And in the early days, I believed when I believed when I saw people coming back,
Mm.
right? I believed that, and then it was always the same story.
Yeah.
Like I picked up, I went right back where I was, and it got worse because it's a progressive disease, and we have to remember it is considered a disease, and it's a brain disorder, and the target organ in the body with addiction is the brain, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that's like that's where relapse is, right? I think if people go into their hearts and really, you know, look at reality in their heart and their gut, they know. But this thing is the enemy.
It's tricking you at every turn. Like, and, I guess along with reservation would be complacency.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think through complacency, people often lose that connection that they had with their higher power, and then they've lost their power source for their freedom.
Well, that's the number one reason people relapse is because
Yeah.
they don't do what they're supposed to do on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And I'm talking 12-step recovery, right?
Yeah. Mm.
So complacency is the number one reason people relapse. And every single time I've seen thousands of people come back over the years, right? And they all have the same story. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped reaching out to my sponsor. I just didn't do my readings or didn't finish my step or like those kind of things. Every single person. I've never seen anybody stand up and say, I relapsed. It was the best time I ever had in my life. It's
Yeah,
always the same. So, and it's easy to stay in recovery. It's
that's it.
easy.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Like I always say to people, I'm like, I gratefully trade 2 hours a day for my freedom.
Absolutely. Well, how much time did we spend drinking and using, right?
Yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? Like, and we can give a couple hours to recovery each day.
And the thing is, for anybody out there who's new, like, there's so much more than the sobriety or the
Mm-hmm.
clean time.
Mm-hmm.
Like my recovery feels like 0.1% substance related,
Mm-hmm.
and now, like, 99.9% love and freedom related.
Isn't that nice?
Absolutely, it is. Like, it is something that, first of all, that I cherish,
Mm-hmm.
and second of all, that, I feel like I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really amazing, and I keep myself really involved.
Mm-hmm.
I've cut down. I used to do 4 of these a
Yeah.
week, and I do 2 now because I
Well,
wanted to bring more
well,
balance into
you
my
get to
life.
do that, right? You get to move out
Yep.
a little bit, but I mean, the most important thing in my life, and I believe in yours, is my recovery. Comes above
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
Everything.
I
It has,
start my day with my program. Like, it is the
yeah.
first thing I do for the first chunk of time, like in the morning.
And it just becomes like breathing.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I'll cut other things off the day, whatever, to make
Hmm.
sure that that time is there,
Yeah.
for me,
It's
because it sets the tone for my entire day.
absolutely. And we have community, we have friends that are,
Mm,
real. I have women in my life that I, trust absolutely implicitly. Like
mm,
I never had that in my life. Like I have, numbers in my phone and if I'm jammed in, I can reach out to anybody and they'll answer me and they'll tell me the truth. And what a gift that is. Like people who don't have addiction issues do not have the gifts that we get
no,
in
like all we
recovery.
had to do was nearly kill ourselves to get here.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We paid our dues.
Yeah.
Um, but
I wouldn't have
where
it any other way. Like, I'm not living in a world of regrets where I'm like, oh
no,
man, I wish I would have this and I wish I would, like, it's just not the way it was. And inside my addictions, I had some fun times. Was it fun for everybody else? No. And I'm not saying
yeah.
that I haven't made some amends and that, but ultimately, I'm not living a life that I'm like so regretful of what happened. I'm just so grateful I got here before I died. Like, that's it.
Me too. Because
Yeah.
I ended up on life support.
Yeah.
And I did, and that the period leading up to that, like it was 18 months of pure hell. And I couldn't eat. And I was just so bankrupt in every single way. It was awful. And I can close my eyes and go right back there. And I think that's, I can feel what it felt like. And that's a huge part of what's kept me sober and in recovery is that I know what will happen if I picked up a drink. And I've never thought, for some reason, and a lot of people do, I've never thought I could have a drink. I'll be fine. That thought has
Yeah.
never crossed my mind. Do I
No.
think about it sometimes? Like, I go on vacation and people are drinking, and I think, it'd be kind of nice to be able to do that. But then I see those people the next day and they're all, hungover. But I think it's just really accepting the fact that we are addicts and alcoholics. And I accept the fact with every cell in my body. And I often say to my clients, what color are your eyes? And they say they're blue. And is that a fact? Can you change that? Yeah, you can put contacts in or whatever, but you can't physiologically really change the color of your eyes. That is a fact. It's
Yeah.
also a fact that we're an addict, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And there's no changing it. There's no, and if you pick up again, you're going to go right back where you were, and it's going to get worse. And I can talk about that till I'm blue in the face, and then somebody will walk out the door of treatment, relapse, they come back. You were right. You were right. It's like, yeah, I was right, because I've heard it 1,000 times.
You
I
know,
think people think they're different. I don't know.
I thought, for me, it was a 37 and a half year journey. And
Uh-huh.
the last 17 and a half was what I would call my struggle with
Mm-hmm.
powerfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like me trying this substance or that substance or not drinking hard liquor, no
Yeah.
shots allowed, Milan,
Yeah.
because blackout Milan will be there.
Yeah.
And but by the time like I died in that hospital that night,
Mm-hmm.
down in
Mm-hmm.
Vancouver,
Yeah.
like I can just close my eyes and be right back to the edge of hell.
Right.
You know? And like I am so grateful that I died awake.
Yeah.
So many people I know who like are opioids or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, I've had like, 30 overdoses. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but they fell asleep for every single one. Like
Yeah.
they didn't feel their
Yeah.
body actually stopping and get to the edge of
Yeah.
nothingness.
Yep.
And I think to me that's one of the greatest gifts is
Mm-hmm.
that I got to that edge. I had that terrifying thing of like losing life, like
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
consciously, you
Yeah.
know.
I can relate to that completely,
Mhm.
because that's what happened to me, right?
Yeah. And lucky us, really,
Oh,
like in
so
retrospect.
blessed.
Yeah, because I like, it's not like I have to rewind the tape, that you play the tape to the end, rewind the tape. Like it's like I can close my eyes and be right there. Like
Yep.
that. Like, there's no delay. And
Yep.
so it's never my powerlessness has never been questioned once. Like that I just know that I'm powerless. Like
Yeah. That's a gift.
yeah.
Not everybody gets that gift for some
Mhm.
reason. I mean, we'll never be able to figure it out, right? Why people, I just don't understand relapse. I get it in the sense it's like if you don't do what you're supposed to do and you're not willing and you're not ready and you don't accept it, you're gonna probably relapse and you might just die. But I just don't understand why people would want to go back to that misery.
Yeah, me neither,
Hey,
because the
sorry.
life that I'm living now is just so much more amazing.
I apologize for my dog.
I know I like
Chopper,
dogs.
Chopper,
I
Chopper.
got one on the couch behind me.
Sorry,
It's okay.
Chopper.
Okay, I got a question for you. Ready for a
Okay.
question? Okay.
Yes.
The Big Book defines the phenomenon of craving as a permanent physiological reality. How has your understanding of this allergy shifted from fear-based restriction to a logical boundary that you simply no longer negotiate?
Um, well, that's a kind of a interesting question.
I know.
So, can you read that again, Milan?
Yeah. Okay. So, how has your understanding of this allergy shifted from a fear-based restriction to a
Mm.
logical boundary that you simply no longer negotiate?
Okay, so I got out of treatment. I was terrified of drinking. Drinking. I was
Mhm.
terrified, terrified. My family was terrified that I was
Mhm.
going to start up again, right?
Mhm.
And over the year, I lost my. I'm not. I have a healthy fear, but it's not some. It's just, I know I can't drink or use, and I'm not afraid of that anymore.
Yep.
And we just went on this incredible cruise to the Caribbean, and people were drinking everywhere,
Everywhere.
everywhere, and I don't even really see it anymore. Because it used to be, I was hyper vigilant about it. I mean, the first time I went on vacation, I was 3 years, and we went on a cruise, interestingly enough. And I was really afraid that somebody's going to give me a drink with alcohol in it. I was afraid that I was going to get triggered, scared, scared. I'm not, it's like I don't even see it anymore. I think it's a total acceptance that that's not in my life. And I don't, like, I can tell you, I don't miss it. And it's interesting that, I can be around a lot of people that are drinking and partying, and I don't see it. I see the effects the next day. It's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
People hung over and all that. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember what that was like. I don't want to be that. But, we've gone all over the world, and it's just not my thinking is recovery based, not using based. It's a total shift from the way I used to think. I don't know. I guess, as the years have gone by, it's gotten easier, obviously. And time goes really fast.
So fast.
It goes really fast. But I don't have a fear of that I'm gonna drink. Like, I don't.
There's I don't know if it's still up, but the sign in options on the wall, that which you focus on becomes greater.
That was written by Kenny.
But I always sat across from that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're either focused on your recovery or you're focused on like the absence of substance.
Yeah.
Like wherever you're looking is where you go.
Right.
And so I always tried to look at my recovery and, and initially, I will say that I was scared of dying again from it, but now I'm not driven by that fear. I'm driven by my love of recovery.
Yeah.
To have more and to be healthier and to expand it in more ways, I think, for me, if anything, I think that the 12-step programs, the one hole in it is that they're not pulling enough physical health into it. Because I think that if your vessel is unhealthy, if you're eating like shit, if you're feeling like shit,
absolutely.
If your body's not good, you don't have the same good thoughts. You
No.
don't have the same energy. You don't and for myself, it was putting down the substance, putting down the cigarettes, and then it really opened me up to building my health back.
Yeah.
I'm actually probably not even building my health back, becoming healthier than I've ever been.
Right.
In any respect, because there was no time as an adult that I wasn't polluting the crap out of myself. It looked nicer in my 20s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why we take a holistic approach to recovery, or I do, and that's what I teach. It's like mind, body, spirit. We can't. We have to have proper fuel for our bodies. We have to have proper rest. All those things. We have to have time for fun things that we love to do, and finding those passions that we lose in active addiction. Like, it is a whole body and mind and heart experience. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes work, and it's hard. Hardest thing I ever did was go to treatment and put down drugs and alcohol, which got me through everything in my life for, most of my life, and take a good hard look at myself, and
100%.
it was really hard at first, but then it gets easier. And I think people just don't give themselves the time to let it get easier. It seems overwhelming.
Before the miracle.
Don't leave before the miracle happens. And it always does. If you stay, and you choose to be clean, and you choose to be sober, and you choose to be an abstinence-based person. And, I really believe in that. There's this whole thing now, people are microdosing.
Oh, yeah.
Psychedelics.
Yeah.
And, to get closer to their high, whatever. And, it's still a drug. And, people microdose. And then, as with every other drug, you start building up tolerance to it. And then you need more and more and more and more and more. And before you know it, it's not giving you your desired effect. And I don't understand this microdosing. Like, I know what it's all about, but I would never, ever microdose psychedelics.
I'm done trying to get rid of one substance with
another. If you're clean and you're connected and you're in a community of people that love you, and you're, not hurting your family anymore, and, all those things. Like, why would you want to mess that up? I don't get it.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. And I think for some people, it's like we're taught in this society that there's a magic pill for everything, kind of thing
Hmm.
like that. And and,
Hmm.
and it's really, I think, just a substitution from doing the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like, if they had
that's
a
what it is.
pill, if they came out with
Yeah,
a pill, this will cure your
yeah.
addiction, I'd,
Mhm.
take one a day. I'd probably take 10 a day because I'm an addict.
That's right. That's right. Okie dokie. Do you have a question you'd like to ask me?
So when you left treatment, can you remember how it felt when you got home?
Scary. I was scared a little bit. You know, you hear you hear people say it all the time when you're in treatment, like being bubble wrapped. You
Right.
know, and like recovery is definitely way easier in treatment. You know,
Yes.
like you've got a group of people trying to help you stay straight, and a whole other group of people who are trying to stay straight too. And
Right.
something with that solidarity that definitely makes it easier.
Hmm.
You know, like Michelle and I's problems weren't solved. They were paused
Yeah.
for 35 days.
Right.
And in some ways, honestly, like I feel like maybe was probably a touch of resentment that I got to go somewhere and work on myself, and she just stayed home in our mess, you
Huh?
know.
Yeah.
And so I remember the day I got back, and like, or maybe the next morning,
Hmm.
and it was like 3 hours into the day. I had come home on this pink cloud. I'm like, oh man, I'm changed,
Yeah.
you know. And then there I was, like totally angry and frustrated with something that went on with her and I just thought, like, like all those steps forward, and now I feel like even further behind momentarily,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that was a tough pill to swallow that quickly, you
Right.
know. But the thing was that I was determined. I was determined for for uh, for things to change.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think the best I could do to start out with was, instead of being a different person, was to just remove myself and give myself a chance to kind of, actually
Yeah.
inventory myself in a way, like
Yeah.
where I'm like, what's really going on here before
Yeah.
I just say a bunch of stuff that was my old pattern, you
Hmm.
know? Because
Hmm.
I think that was really hard, to like, it's real easy with new people to just be a new person
Hmm.
because you don't have all those patterns of the relationship. And
Hmm.
I found that has been the slowest, hardest changes inside all of this.
Hmm.
But, Michelle and I are doing really well now. Probably actually, I think the best that we've ever done. And she
And
also wanted me to say hi to you. I told you
tell her I said hi.
I was coming on
She's
today with you.
she's awesome. She's a
She is
great woman.
awesome.
She's
And,
an awesome woman.
like, um, one of the things she said to me this year, she said, my New Year's resolution is to learn to love you completely.
Wow.
And I thought that was pretty
That's
amazing.
pretty cool.
It is pretty cool for
Yeah.
me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I think and I like to talk about this, but our family, addiction is first and foremost a family disease.
Hmm.
And, people go to treatment and expect everything to be just, oh, open arms. But they didn't get to work on themselves like that. They're just left with the wreckage. And,
Yeah.
a lot of relationships break up when one person goes into recovery and the other one's just, either left behind, or, it just doesn't work anymore. And it does
Mhm.
take work, like all relationships do. Um, But I think you knew that when you left, that it wasn't going to be, that there were problems with your wife.
Oh, I knew there was problems.
Uh-huh.
Like, but and they had been what I would call like on the pause button for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I remember people asking me in treatment, they're like, "Well, what's gonna happen with you and your wife?" And I was like, "I have no fucking clue." Like,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
like, I have no clue, but I do know this is that whatever it takes, it's gonna take years. Like, like
Mm-hmm.
she gave me years of the mess.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening here, I'm committed. I'm committed to this healing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's all there is to it. So, and that's another thing is that, like I felt even with my daughter, with my
Mm-hmm.
wife, it's much more has happened in the last year than the first year.
Yes. Yeah.
Like like there's so much going on in the first year inside ourselves, but it's the external ripples become
Mm-hmm.
bigger over time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what what I would say. And I had like I don't know if you know her, Shaylin. She
Yeah.
was yeah, so Shaylin had a stroke 2 weeks
Uh-huh. I
ago.
heard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I just saw her in the hospital yesterday.
Oh.
But she became my sponsor earlier this year, or like
Mm-hmm.
2025. And
Mm-hmm.
and one of the directions kind of that that she pointed me in was learning to love completely. And so it's been a
Yeah.
real kind of journey about love for me
Mm-hmm.
in the last year, and really learning the different aspects of love where like I think that almost everybody, even in their greatest intentions, is still working off a transaction model of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and trying to get away from that and actually be like really loving, being patient, being kind.
Yep.
And
Accepting the other person fully.
yeah, accepting them
For
fully,
warts and all, as yeah.
but also like doing something for them because you love them, not because you think that there'll be sex later or somebody's making a
Right.
dinner
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, and I think inside people there's just a lot of premeditated transaction or
Mm-hmm.
expectations, that
Mm-hmm.
that I mean, I think that in itself takes years to try and even address.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
But if you stick it out and you're both willing to stick it out, then
Yeah.
we come in, we get and I know that in my own relationship, like we've been through some hard times. We're both in recovery, and it's been a ride, but it's to a
Yeah.
place now at 13 years where it's really good.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, kind of like when people used to plant fruit trees and the old standard fruit trees, you wouldn't get fruit for 10 years or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can honestly say that, the greatest fruits are still probably to come,
And
you
they
know.
just keep coming.
They do,
Yeah,
and
they do.
but you have to put in the work. You have to, and you
Yes.
have to like you have to actually. I think one of the things that people don't see is that doing that constant step 10, whether you're writing it or whether you're just
Yeah.
actually walking yourself
Yeah.
through it, is such a vehicle for growth for
Absolutely.
and especially with relationship stuff because
Yes.
like you can have a medium day
Hmm.
and if you don't actually take a look at it,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh yeah, that day was all right, but there might have been one thing that happened that day that has never ever happened before in a relationship,
Yes.
and if you don't give credit for that growth, you might never actually do those things again to build off that.
Yeah. We're talking about step 10. I'm going to show this book here.
Okay.
And these are really great books. The first one's called Drop the Rock. And it's about step 6 and 7. And then this book is about, using step 10 to work 6 and 7. They're really great books.
Okay, there's a lady going to start a meeting in Osoyoos on Tuesday at noon from Drop the Rock.
It's both the books. There's Drop the Rock, and then this one's The Ripple Effect, and we're reading through this in our women's group. And it's really, really cool. I'm not a self-help book kind of person, but this is like not this is like just reiterating, about step 10. And it's so cool. It's great books. Like everybody's like, whoa, when we read through it, because something will resonate with everybody in that book. So I'm glad that's happening because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a couple old timers who are like, that's not AA approved, and they're not doing it from an AA
Right.
group. They're just
No.
people, and so it's like don't go, just don't
Yeah,
go.
exactly. If you don't want to expand, like I get I'm a big book person
Yeah,
personally. I believe that the answer to any of my problems can be found in that big book. However, we have to expand our minds a bit. And I think, like, because these are just supplements to that, right?
but like for myself, I really got reminded of surrender by this was a great quote, which I really love. Is he said, this isn't a program of self-improvement. This is a program of surrender. One of my
Mm.
friends who came on, and like, because how many times are you at a meeting where you see someone, I'm just working on my anger, I'm just
Yeah.
working, and it's like, well, but like, even myself, I've been guilty of that. Like,
Hmm.
what I'm saying is that, I now see that Milan is the shittiest anger remover in the world, but I'm actually not a bad surrenderer, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. And
And
surrender, like we have to surrender and just, the
mhm.
people that say, tell me what to do and I'll do it are the ones that always do better. And I was that person. Like I remember going into my first AA meeting right out of treatment the next day, terrified because I didn't know anyone, and I went into that meeting and they asked me to share and I just broke down crying. And it's like, I don't know I don't know how to live my life because I didn't.
Yeah.
And they told me what to do that day, and I still do those things. And I was willing to listen because, when we come in, we tend to think we know everything and we don't want anybody to tell us how to do anything or to do anything, but that's surrender. Tell me what
Hmm.
to do and I'll do it. And that works. And those are the people that always do best. It's, ask for help. That's a big deal.
And like for me, it was like, okay, well, how can I learn how to do this better? Like I've gone into, like, Michael Singer has been a good source for that. There's
Mm-hmm.
another lady who wrote a book on surrender that I would listen to. And I think that the 12 steps, it's a great starting point. But
Yeah.
some of the stuff people want to develop more or deeper,
Mm-hmm.
or just don't get exactly what it's saying in that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's okay. Like, it wasn't the first place in the world that talked about surrender, and it
Yeah.
won't be the last, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, but I think people think surrender is a bad thing because, you're in a war, oh, surrender, right? But
Yeah.
we are in a war when we're in addiction.
Oh, we're in a war. Yeah,
So we don't want to
absolutely. Yeah.
surrender, and that's a
Mhm.
big word, but it's so important. I love that word. Like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And it's not like I made this stuff up or you made it up. It's worked for since 1939 when 12-step
Mhm.
programs first came out. It's like, if it can work for you, it can work for me, and there's proof that it works. But
Absolutely.
you have to surrender, you have to be willing, you have to be ready. And they say you hit your bottom when you stop digging. You have to be really ready to do this. And not, lots of people, sometimes all we can do in treatment is plant a seed. And then when it gets bad enough, they know where to go, right?
I,
Um,
I think that's the case with a lot of people.
mhm.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, my experience of going in the rooms and you'll see somebody come in and, they might be there because they're in trouble with their spouse or something
Right.
happened or they got their DUI or who
Yeah.
knows, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they're there and they're like, oh, acting, not acting, but like, partially hearted. I wouldn't call it
Right.
wholeheartedly,
Right.
but then then after that one meeting, you don't see them, but then
Yeah.
boom, like a year later,
They're
they're
back.
back. And
Hmm.
they're like, okay, this is it now,
Yeah.
they're willing to actually try to do something because I, you know, they say to welcome the newcomer, but I
Hmm.
swear I see this all the time where some newcomer comes in and they get
Hmm.
swarmed.
Yeah, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, and they're just like, what the heck? Like,
Hmm.
and it's almost too much. Like there should be like one like newcomer be like assigned for meeting instead of
Right.
like
Everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I can imagine walking into a meeting is like being dropped into an alternate universe because there's things on the wall to read and all these people look happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, this cannot be real. These people cannot possibly be this happy. But, that, and that's why I think treatment's such a great idea for everybody because you're in a safe place you can't use in a treatment center. And you're surrounded by recovery 24/7 and you get to learn these things and somebody gets to teach you these things. So you're not overwhelmed when you go. But millions and millions of people have cleaned up, sobered up, just going into meetings.
Yeah.
But if a person can go to treatment
Yeah.
because it'll change your life.
I'm a big advocate of it. Like it's Options Treatment Center in Kelowna that Susie works at, and it's the best one in the world. So
Me too.
yeah,
I think so.
I
I
think
think,
it's great.
yeah,
I plug it all the time on here.
that's
I'm
good.
always, if anybody's thinking of going, that's where to go. Okay, I
Yeah.
got another question for you.
Okay.
Okay, there is a specific psychological strength found in having a completely clear system. How
Hmm.
does the total transparency of your lifestyle contribute to your ability to lead and mentor others in your professional and personal life?
First and foremost, I have to walk my talk.
Hmm.
Like I'm